a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Dave X Media.
We were out of options. No more help was coming. Annabeth and I would have to retreat before we were cut off from Mount Olympus. Then I heard a rumbling in the south. It wasn't a sound you hear much of in New York, but I recognized it immediately. Chariot wheels. A girl's voice yelled, "Ares!" And a dozen war chariots charged into battle. Each flew a red banner with symbol of a wild boar's head. Each was pulled by a team of skeletal horses with manes of fire. A total of 30 fresh warriors, armor gleaming and eyes full of hate, lowered their lances as one, making a bristling wall of death. "The children of Ares," Annabeth said in amazement. "How did Rachel know?"
Welcome to Of the Eldest Gods, where we discuss Rick Riordan's role as our godly parent.
I'm Raye from Cabin 12.
And I'm Charlie from Cabin 13.
And I'm Adele from Cabin 7, but I'm not going to sing Cabin 7. I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you were planning a thing, you were gonna do it, and then you didn't do it when I announced the pod.
I know, I was going to sing it, and then I lost my nerve. I'm sorry, everyone.
It's okay.
I got stage fright.
You'll get that in the outtakes.
We're gonna put you singing in the bloopers.
Yeah, I was like, I'm nervous.
Oh, my dudes. Are we ready for this one? Are we ready? Emotionally?
The drama. It's happening.
Did we get help from a thief?
I would have titled this chapter so differently. I would have.
Yes, okay.
What are your thoughts?
Elaborate on that, because I was about to say the same shit, because it's interesting what's been done here.
Yeah, I just it's like I get help from a thief, right? It's just I think the whole like a trick that ends in death, I think should have been like kind of like, you know, like a fatal trick or something like that, a little bit more. Like we witness like a depressing trick or something. I don't know. Something like sad.
But yeah, talking about the same thing, but like, yeah, making it more clear. I was about to say kind of the same thing, because we don't really elaborate in the chapter on what exactly that means. Like, you can kind of suss it out if you think about it, but it's no one says the word thief anywhere in the chapter, which is normally not how it's done. It's normally much, much more clear the way that Rick does it.
Yeah, it's a little amorphous, which I don't think it's fair. Like, I think the crux of the chapter is like that the monumental point deserves its own kind of huzzah and deserves to be like recognized in the chapter title. I don't know. Like it's like a sacrifice or something like that word maybe, or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot.
Well, we're dancing around it. Let's just get into it. And I'm going to tell you all what happens.
Y'all can tell we brought Adele on for a gay chapter.
Hell yeah.
Obviously.
Okay, Annabeth figures out how to operate a helicopter on the fly. Haha. Saving Rachel. Thank you.
Chapter title.
Thank you.
Yeah, operating on the fly.
Okay. So she saves Rachel, even though she's still insanely salty about it.
I know. Homegirl, like.
Yeah. Oh, Annabeth. Rachel has been having a shit ton of premonitions, and Chiron helps her sort through them a little bit. Percy has another prophetic nap. Nico is trying to get Hades to join the war effort. That seems like it's going super great. Kronos is pissy as ever, and he orders a daytime attack so that Olympus can be destroyed on his timetable. But turns out they have a Drakon, who, conveniently enough, is destined to be killed by a child of Ares, which we do not have. Once again, the battle is going incredibly poorly until, once again, we get surprise reinforcements. Ares cabin to the rescue, fuck yeah, led by, quote-unquote, Clarisse. Unfortunately, Silena Beauregard is not a child of Ares, and the Dracon melts her face before Clarisse can show up and kill it in beautiful lesbian vengeance.
Yeah.
I forgot about the face melting. Honestly, like I read that and I was like, oh, like
Yeah, like
Rick.
A little
Holy
terrifying.
shit.
Oh, she's a child of Aphrodite. Oh, she's so beautiful. Guess what?
uh-huh,
Guess what?
uh-huh.
Her face gets melted off, and Percy comments on it too.
Yeah, oh my
Leave the
god.
woman alone. Leave her alone. Like, he's
Listen,
like, I
I'm
look
sure
into
she's still
one's
beautiful.
face. She is still gorgeous to me.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
this is Silena Beauregard we're talking about. Obviously, she's still gorgeous as hell.
Yeah.
She's just got like a sexy scar. Like,
She's just dying tragically, as you do when you are too beautiful for this world.
Yeah, but the face really out of like
Right on the face, yeah.
and then they were like, we're struggling to take the helmet off. I'm like, damn, twist it in deeper, Rick. Like,
Oh god.
at least let her die as herself and not as fake Clarisse.
I know. But the
Yeah.
parallels, he did it for the parallels, Charlie.
Well, you know what? We're gonna talk about those parallels.
Into it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So in case you missed it,
But
we're gonna talk a little bit about our boy Patroclus in this chapter, because I've already kind of gone over Achilles. So let's talk some Patroclus. I wonder why. I don't know if that's relevant at all to what's happening here, but it could happen. Could be. All right.
Okay.
Patroclus, a dear friend of Achilles. You know,
Besties, dare I say?
Mhm, mhm.
childhood
friends.
friend, wartime
Roommates?
companion,
Mm,
roommates.
mhm,
Oh my
mhm.
god.
Oh my
Tent
god, they were
mates.
roommates.
Tent mates.
I mean, that is true, so jot that shit down.
Gay.
Gay.
It's gay. It's gay.
I love that one like amphora painting of like Achilles like tenderly like caring for Patroclus with like an arrow wound or something, and I was like, that shit's gay.
Mhm,
Fellas, is
mhm.
it gay to like gently sit next to your friend and like tenderly care for them like with an arrow wound while they like look off into the side? Yeah, that's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, you
Just a
know,
little.
could be, possibly. Yeah, so Patroclus, he's a pretty cool dude, he's pretty gay. So his name means glory of his father. Who the fuck is your dad? Does your dad, is he important?
Wasn't he that king? He was a king of something.
Menodius?
Yeah, although my Patroclus lore is a little like skewed because what I'm remembering is the Song of Achilles.
Which neither of us have read.
Yeah.
What? You
I know, it's a travesty.
We've already been canceled for this. Don't
Yes.
worry. Christina already called us out for it.
Oh my
I have too many
God.
books that I need to read, and I don't read them. I just read
Oh
more
my god, that means
fanfiction.
I get to talk about it though.
Oh, please do.
Absolutely.
Those are exciting.
This is why you are here. I knew
Okay.
you would.
Okay. Yeah. So like Song of Achilles, I think it came out in like 2012, 2011. It won the Orange Prize for Literature, which is that notable prize for like LGBT fiction. I don't think nonfiction. I just think fiction. Although I could be wrong. Yeah. And I think it was Madeline Miller's debut novel. And then she followed it up a few years later with Circe and a couple other ones. But Song of Achilles is like super popular on Book Talk. I think it kind of like
Makes
rose
sense.
to prominence like I think 2020-ish, like right during COVID. I read it years ago when it like first kind of came out because like baby gay, I was like, oh my god, like any sort of like queer literature I could get my hands on. And I loved it when it first came out, especially because I was like, oh my god, a Percy Jackson kid. There are a lot of like really valid criticisms of the book though. So the book, there's some like diehard fans and then there's some diehard critics. And I think I'm kind of like in the middle. The biggest one is that it really like they baby girlify Patroclus a little bit and Achilles. That's like the biggest critique is that Miller kind of just like, oh, they're so like baby girl. They're so like, they're very like soft, like boys in love, you know, kind of thing. And I think a big criticism is it just glamorizes their relationship, which is like sexual in the book and like a romantic relationship. And it starts when they're boys and when they meet and such, of course, until the end of the Iliad, but just totally glosses over, I think, a lot of the realism of the Iliad, which is that both of them were just extreme killers. And yeah, they just kind of soften it, I think. And I don't know, and it doesn't really depict the war, I think, as a lot of kind of more of the classicist like scholars and things, scholars and people would want, I think. And I think for a lot of people, it's like a very surface level relationship. They've read Song of Achilles, and so they're just kind of like, oh yeah, like they're, you know, they had a relationship, you know, there's the Trojan War, and then don't go on to read the Iliad, which is fine in my opinion. But I think for a lot of scholars, they want like another depth of understanding and the Iliad in all its kind of gritty, bloody glory.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that both of them did horrible things and aren't necessarily baby girl characters per se. So I think that's the biggest criticism. And I think Miller addresses that in her later writing. It's a lot more mature. And I think it treats Greek myth in a more mature way. And, you know, another criticism, but the criticism is like the sexual exploitation of most of the women in the kind of story of the Iliad is really downplayed, especially with Briseis, I think. Yeah. And I just like the power dynamics as well. Just because, of course, like she's Achilles' trophy, like he killed her father and her brothers. And I think that's probably one of the biggest criticisms as well, is that kind of this, you know, woman who's got a really interesting story in the Iliad from a more like feminist perspective is kind of like downplayed. Once again, Miller definitely hears those criticisms and she really makes up for it, I think, in her second book. But
the second one is Circe, right?
Yeah. So she explores a lot more like nuances regarding like women's place in Greek mythology, and I definitely think she recognizes the fact that the writing is a little bit juvenile. You know, a lot of the themes are kind of glossed over a little bit. You know, it could be a bit more harsh reality wise, but I do think it's a beautiful book, if not mostly because the second part of it, when Patroclus has died, he's been killed, and it's his ghost narrating.
Fuck.
Not to spoiler it, because
Yeah.
No, that's just like
the writing
wow.
style. His ghost is like narrated, and it's his ghost in dialogue with Achilles' mother. It has some of the most like beautiful lines, and he's watching Achilles kind of spiral and waiting for his body to be, you know, buried and, you know, followed through like the sacred rites, etc. He's like in this like limbo almost because Achilles refuses to bury his body out of grief.
Yeah.
And that has always struck the most with me, because in the Iliad, he dies, and then there's mention, of course, that Achilles wants their bones like mixed together, et cetera, et cetera. But his story is silenced once he as a character is silent and or silenced. And Song of Achilles does a really good job with his character. Yeah.
Excellent.
That was my summary of the book.
Everything that you're saying reminds me of my experiences with fan fiction, which it kind of is.
Yeah,
and,
it is
you know,
fan fiction. All Greek myth is
in which case,
fanfic.
my ass love fan fiction, so I'm definitely gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I love. I mean, like one of my favorite Greek myth retellings is. And I have like thoughts on them, of course, but this, once again, like the gay ones obviously are gonna have my interest. It's essentially like a fanfic. It's like a self-published novel, but it's essentially a fanfic, and it's like a gender-bent Hades and Persephone.
Yes, I remember you told me and Taylor about this. Like,
yes, oh my god, it's called The Dark Wife, and I found it, I think, when I was like 14 or something, and I still like reread it every now and again because I just love it so much. But yeah, it's essentially fanfic. And so what Miller did, I mean, she has a classics degree. She's definitely like well-versed. That's the thing. That's why I trust her and authors like Natalie Haynes a bit more than a lot of like the popular Greek myth retellings that have popped up in the past couple of years, just because they do have that training in classics. They've read the source material and like multiple times and understand it and can give lectures on it. And so I just trust them as a reader a bit more. Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, a lot of the ones that have popped up. Like literally, I was just looking to be curious, and it was like Ariadne, Electra, Clytemnestra, Phaedra, oh my god, like the daughters of Odysseus, stuff like that. Like there were, I want to say like 8 books published between like 2020 and now that I saw that were just like, it was kind of like put female characters from Greek myths, put their names on a scrap of paper, toss it in a bowl, shake it, and just like pick it out, and that's the one you write on.
Yeah.
And there, I mean, like I'm so glad that people are finding these like quote unquote, I'm going to use quote unquote feminist retellings. I'm glad
Mhm.
that they're finding them interesting and maybe like coming into the world of Greek mythology. But I do think we do have to be a little bit careful, just as because the source material, of course, is a little bit fan fiction in of itself with so many various
Yeah,
experiences of the myth. But just having that background in classics makes me just trust an author a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, you can bend and break these stories however you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you know the rules, then when you break them, it makes them more meaningful. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I see a lot of people, what is that? Fuck, what is the comic? Oh my God, I haven't even read it.
What?
Lore Olympus?
Yes.
Laura Olympus. Yeah. So one time I like fell on the wrong side of classics TikTok, and it was like all these young classicists like bashing Lore Olympus.
What?
Yeah, it was a dark time. And I would consider myself like an amateur, like enthusiast. I'm by no means like I don't have a degree in it, but I've like studied it. I'm like kind of in the middle, and like yeah, that exists for some people, and that I get some criticisms of it, of course, that it kind of glosses over a lot of like the violence of the initial myth. But I'm of the opinion that, you know, if someone enjoys that type of retelling, like I think that exists in a space of its own, and I think that's fine. And I think some of the more, let's call like quote unquote faithful, maybe grittier in a way retellings also exist, and like Pat Barker, like Silence of the Girls and Women of Troy, those are Iliad retellings that like don't shy away from like the violence and kind of the darker side. But some people don't want that, right? Some people want like lighter stories, and I don't know. I think they can coexist, just like how Percy Jackson can coexist with someone who also wants to read the Odyssey, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. All these stories have meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Percy Jackson gets away with a lot because it never claims to be an actual retelling, you know? But
Yeah.
but we have complaints about like how certain people are characterized all the time. Like we were talking about Prometheus recently because Charlie loves Prometheus and he does not have a good showing in this book.
Yeah, he doesn't.
It's like one of my favorite myths, and I'm just like, okay, what happened to like my cunning trickster guy who like cares about people and like they're like his OC do not steal, like humanity as a whole. He loves humanity. And that's what's important to him. Siding with Kronos, that guy who doesn't give a shit.
I know. It doesn't make any sense. When you guys eventually, or if you ever do, I'm gonna like keep this like Medea for me is Charlie.
Yeah, no. I know what you mean.
Schedule me in.
I'll get you on for that chapter in like I don't know how many years.
You know, I think what actually the thing, not to like harp on these retellings, but I think what it is, you know, they're labeled this like feminist retelling. And a lot of the times I want to kind of just say they were bad. They were inherently flawed women. And that's okay. I think some of the retellings don't dive into that enough. And they were like, oh, like they had a background that, you know, of trauma. So therefore this is why. And I'm like, that's okay. But also they can just be
feminism doesn't mean that they have to be perfect people.
I do get so sick of like girl power feminism, you know?
It's very much girl power feminism. Once again, it has an audience, and like that's okay. But for me, I always want, you know, something more. Like for example, Cersei, she turns them into pigs, and I'm like, yeah, I would
walked up of her. Love that though.
I like absolutely. And you know, would I do the same? Maybe. I don't know. I've never been a powerful witch on an island with only women, if you know what I mean.
Well.
But let her live. Yeah, you know. And I just think there, of course, oftentimes they're driven to that point for a reason, and we can like the narration can show that breaking point, but then like let it happen. And that's also why I like Madeline Miller's Circe probably the most out of all the quote unquote girl boss books.
All right, well then we're gonna have to put that on the document for to cover on the bonus show some point.
I would read Song of Achilles first though, and then Circe,
yeah.
just to see her growth as a writer.
Absolutely.
And she's actually working right now on a Hades and Persephone retelling.
I saw that.
Yeah, and at first I was really hesitant, just because I was like, oh, like out of all the stories in Greek mythology, I'm kind of like, that's the one that's like weirdly romanticized the most, in my opinion. There's something about it that just really gives me such unease. I think it was because there was like a dumbed down children's version in this like children's anthology I had when I was younger with like these gorgeous illustrations. But when I read it, I was always so like frightened of, I wonder, okay, next time I'm home, I'll send some of the illustrations to you guys. I
want to know which book this was.
Okay, I'll find it after. It wasn't all Greek myths. It was like this like storybook essentially. I'll try to find it after and send it to you. But there was this one picture of Hades like taking Persephone, and it was very much in like the romantic style of art where she's, you know, she's got like no mobility in her limbs and she's like limp, you know. But for me, that just like the violence of that picture as a kid, I was always just like, oh, like that's like how horrifying. And the myth was really, or the retelling was very focused on Demeter and like how she reacted, etc. So I've always had such like uneasiness with that myth. So I do trust, I'll read Madeline Miller's version when it comes out, but I'm like a little apprehensive.
There's a lot of complexities going on in like the Hades and Persephone myth and everything there.
Yeah. And I mean, Rick does a good job, I think, because this is aimed at a young adult audience. You can definitely see the tensions between Persephone and Hades without going into like some of the details that I don't think would be appropriate necessarily for young audience readers, right? Like in the first book, right? And I think he does a good job. Like overall, you know, like the whole arc of each book in the series is like a retelling of a different kind of epic. Like I think he's done a good job with that. And the fact that the Last Olympian is totally the Iliad. I think Rick does it pretty faithfully. Yeah.
Good shit.
I was also surprised, like obviously Achilles comes up a lot in this book. Obviously, like Percy takes on the curse of Achilles, et cetera, et cetera. I think Achilles is mentioned by Chiron in this chapter. Yeah, when Chiron's like, oh, I remember when I taught Achilles, he was fighting a lot and then he was sleeping. And I was like, yeah, he was killing people, Chiron. But just don't mention that. That's okay. So of course, like hitting, I know. And so the book is trying really hard to kind of frame Luke's / Percy as like this Achilles archetype, when in this chapter, if we're going to talk about the parallels, it's Clarisse.
Clarisse is the Achilles here.
Yeah. So, and I think most readers, when they first read that, they don't know because they're like, oh, Percy got the curse of Achilles. He's the hero of the story. Although Rachel straight up says, like, you were not the hero. And like,
oh, you're not the hero.
That'll come back later in this book. Yeah, so I guess like the biggest parallel here is I don't know, Charlie, do you want to like summarize the Iliad like parallel myth?
Yeah.
I mean,
We've
I was
been talking about it this whole time, but just give us like the most bare bones version of what Achilles, Patroclus does.
What does Patroclus do? So I believe we talked about this previously, and I think I like missaid it where I was like, oh yeah, Patroclus steals the armor, but then Raye and I read the Iliad, like we read a graphic novel version, and no, he does not. He does not steal the armor.
He doesn't.
It
steal
is like
it.
It is an idea, and then he takes the armor. He's like, okay, so I'm gonna like cause a distraction. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go out as you, and then he gets killed by Hector.
Yeah, and Achilles says, you must not engage the Trojans. You must come back to me. You can do this on the condition. So it's interesting. Achilles, the reason that this has happened is because his honor, he cares so much, you know, to a Greek warrior, honor is everything. If Achilles let this like snub to his honor go unnoticed, his men would leave him. That's how it would work. And so Achilles, it's interesting. He says, yes, you can pretend to be me. That's dishonorable to pretend to be someone else and not be your own Greek hero in your own right. Like Patroclus has he has made a name for himself pretty well at this point in the Iliad. You know, he's also been trained by Chiron and he's killed people. But for Achilles to say, yes, you can masquerade as me, there's that added level of trust and brotherhood. And in my mind, like the fact that they are partners, Patroclus is the only person Achilles would ever allow kind of like to take on his image like this. And he says, you must come back to me. Do not engage the Trojans. And that is when Patroclus he drives them back and he pursues them to the gates. And that is when, it's gone too far. That's kind of like the tipping point, that it's kind of like the point of no return. And they assume he's Achilles.
Is Achilles and Patroclus the first instance of the gays wearing each other's clothes?
Oh my god. When you have a double closet.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Is this the origin of that? Is that where it comes from?
Yeah. Oh my god, I love that. And I'm also kind of glad that I got asked to be on this chapter because there's a lot of Apollo in this discussion. Like, of course, in the chapter, the Apollo cabin is beefing with the Ares cabin because the whole like flying chariot scandal, once again, this issue of honor. And it's actually Apollo who Patroclus dressed in Achilles' armor. It's Apollo who he meets at the gates of Troy. Apollo is there to defend Troy, and he fights Apollo. My dad's a villain. Yeah. And then Hector comes out, et cetera, and, kills him. Yeah.
That's a level I would not have thought of. I am really glad you said that.
Yeah, I was just like, oh wow, there's a lot of Apollo in this.
It makes sense. Like Patroclus is literally like cursed by Apollo in there. And then that's why he dies. So Apollo's really just like, well, I'm gonna kill the gays because everybody keeps killing all my boyfriends.
Yeah, but there's the added level too. We talked about Briseis earlier, and like the reason this whole feud starts is because Agamemnon has captured someone else. I might be butchering this, but I think it's Chryseis. Two different, Chryseis or something like that. And she is the daughter of a priest of Apollo. Her dad is like, hey, Apollo, like they took my son or my daughter. Oh my God, it's like Taken. He does a Liam Neeson in Taken. And he calls it to Apollo. And Apollo sends like this, I think like a sickness. A sickness to Agamemnon's camp. And that's when Achilles is like, hey, you got to give back Chryseis to her dad. And then Agamemnon's finally like, fine, I'll do it, but only if I get your war prize. So I was like, oh my God, more Apollo mentioned. Like, I know he had his fingers kind of like everywhere in the Trojan War, but like that. And then in this chapter, every time I see Rachel, especially in The Last Olympian, like Apollo is just always on my mind because of the prophecies that she's kind of like speaking, like these kind of like ominous things. Like she predicts what's going to happen. I'm like, oh, like prophecies, et cetera. So yeah, just a lot of Apollo in this chapter that I was really happy about. But like not the good things he's been doing.
And, well, throughout this entire book, now that you mention it, we've Michael Yu died tragically not that long ago. Like,
God, yeah.
Killed by Percy.
That is not his fault. Shut up.
Killed by Percy.
No.
You know what? Michael Yu was like, it's a suicide mission. I know what I'm getting to do. Percy, just destroy the bridge. I'm standing here. Destroy it. It's fine.
I know, that kind of guts me. And it's especially since Lee Fletcher died in the previous book. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, like the Apollo cabin's been really hit hard recently. Like Rick, I don't know, he like always pulls them out, I guess, for like heroic deaths. Yeah, but just a lot of Apollo.
And now we got Will, the leader of the Apollo cabin, only 12 years old.
I know. Well, what was crazy too is like at one point, I think Percy mentions like before the Dracon attacks, he's like, oh, we've got 16 campers, 15 hunters, and 6 satyrs. And I'm like, you have no army. Like,
yeah,
everyone's dying.
I know. As a kid, I was just, I kind of glossed over that because I was like, oh, we know our main cast of characters and we stay with them, right? But then I'm like, our main cast of characters is all that's left. Like, I just, this time that I reread the chapter, I was like, holy shit, like the amount of child death, like it's just
a lot. He kind of gets away with it because he says that everyone else is injured and like hiding out in the Empire State Building. But without specifying how many are permanently dead.
We see some more like in this part too. So like when the Dracon attacks and
Mhm.
they're like fighting him off and then Ares like quote unquote like the cabin kind of comes to the rescue led by quote unquote Clarisse. I think like 2 of them get swallowed by the Dracon, 2 of them get paralyzed or something like that, and I'm like, it's just like
Yeah.
It's fine.
the
It's
history
fine.
Continues to
still
occur.
die. And then I was like, oh, they're paralyzed. Like, can they get like unparalyzed? Is it like
I was assuming
Unclear.
that it's a temporary paralysis for the
Okay, okay.
Dracon, but
that's what I was
yeah.
thinking. Yeah, that happens. Yeah, and then of course Silena gets acid in her face.
Silena.
Like, oh my god.
girl.
Yeah, so of course like in the Iliad, Patroclus dons Achilles' armor. It's agreed upon, but he does break that kind of trust by going after the Trojans to the gates, fights Apollo. Hector comes out and Hector kills him. And then the Greeks try to retrieve Patroclus's body. Achilles apparently screams in grief so loudly that his mother, Thetis, at the bottom of the ocean can hear him, which is
Yeah. Uh-huh.
heartbreaking. And I think Rick has Clarisse like, I think she screams too. Does she?
Yeah, she does.
I want
We have a
to.
lesbian rage scream.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, I don't see
Oh, she
just
does.
a wordless screams. She has a lot of good lines, horrible lines.
So she when Clarisse lands with the flying chariot with Chris, it says, then someone ran towards us. A girl's voice, shaken with grief, cried, "No, curse you, why?" And she keeps screaming "why" in all caps. And if Rick uses all caps, it's yeah, so just like the scream, and then of course like a little bit different, like Clarisse is there to see Silena die, whereas Achilles hears about it secondhand. But yeah, God, just like Rick killed my girlfriends.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
If I could get into Patroclus just a little bit.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you have some other things to tell us.
Give us the lore.
I do have a few things to tell you. Patroclus' family is a bit much. Like 50 million options for his mom.
Oh,
but his
great.
dad was an Argonaut.
Oh, slay.
Cool. He's got a sister, Myrto. She has a child by Heracles. Cool. And then we get into all of the Patroclus Achilles stuff. He's quote unquote Achilles' squire. Like, they're each other's partners in battle. They train together, they fight together. But like Achilles is like the hero.
Yes.
Patroclus is like the support.
Yeah.
Also here it says that he might have been loved by Poseidon, who taught him the art of riding horses.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's pretty gay.
Yeah.
Of riding.
The art of riding. Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I mean, I know he had stuff going on with like horses anyway. Like I thought he tended to Achilles' horses.
Yeah.
The thing that I love the most in this entire article is seeing them talking about ancient Greek scholars arguing which one was the top and which one was the bottom.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's like a thing.
Yeah.
That's like who was the top, who was the bottom, because I think Patroclus was like the older one, but Achilles is the one with more seniority, and that's like
it's
like
a whole thing. It's It's just so deeply funny to me. Like the fandom energy jumps out.
I know, even like the ancient Greeks were
like,
speculating about these guys. For me, it's always like Achilles is like golden retriever energy and Patroclus is black cat energy. Yeah, that's how I would classify them.
Interesting that he's the black cat.
You should read Song of Achilles. It will.
I really should.
It'll.
I'm just remembering when we read like the Iliad, and like they constantly said that like a Patroclus is the best of us. He's the best of us, and I'm just like, would he not be our golden boy?
I think in terms of like, Patroclus sees the world for what it is, and Achilles sees the world as he wants it to be.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and that's why I think things play out the way that they do. Patroclus sees that without Achilles, the Greeks they'll never win, and they need Achilles to fight. And Achilles sees that he sees the world how he wants it to be, which is, eventually, something else will happen, something that I don't have to do will happen, this outside force to kind of stop this stalemate. I can stay here and, act like a bit of a bratty child about my honor, because he is who he is, because he's invulnerable, invincible, he's got the respect of his men. But Patroclus knows that without him, they'll lose.
Right.
Or nothing will change, and that can't happen.
Achilles is the kind of person who can't even imagine compromising his own ideals.
Absolutely. Rose-colored glasses, absolutely. Mm-hmm. He's the one who's like, from the cradle, I was always told I was special. Boy. Yeah. And Patroclus, at least in Song of Achilles, Miller does a really good job of kind of delving into his origins a little bit more and like her take on it. But he's always been like a realist and kind of sees the world for the fact that it's violent and dark and people are flawed and you can't trust everybody. Where Achilles kind of just assumes he can trust everybody, or that if you're either my enemy or you're my friend, rather than in between.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie, your Wikipedia insights continue.
I mean, I was just gonna compare like some more of that Patroclus stuff to like Silena.
Yes, yeah.
And how like the horses thing, like that's like one of the only things we know about her is that she likes the Pegasi.
Oh yeah, it's right there.
Silena confirmed. A win for the horse girl gaze.
Literally. We killed the horse girl, though.
She would watch My Little Pony.
Would. You know what? She would.
She would.
Rarity is invited to the Aphrodite cabin.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Too bad she died before My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Truly a tragedy for the ages.
Selena Beauregard, you would have loved My Little Pony. I want that.
That's a new meme.
Yeah.
Can we put that on a t-shirt? Like, holy shit.
Yeah. All right, next OTEG design is going to be that.
I want
to write it down.
It.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, just that. And like also like the Achilles Patroclus thing. Like Silena and Clarisse have kind of had that going on this whole book where they've been like each other's besties, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a real shame. I really do think if this, like, Rick really gave us a character with all of like the butch lesbian stereotypes and like didn't go for it. And I understand why. He's talked about it. I'm not going to like shit on Rick or anything like that, but it really just is like, part of me just like wishes, because I remember when this came out and I was like, Clarisse is gay, and I never really understood the whole Chris Rodriguez subplot with her. I was always like, oh wait, they're dating. Like I never really got that vibe. Like Silena and Beckendorf, absolutely, but I think if Rick was writing this now, I really do think he would have made them a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've heard stuff about like from the actors in like some interviews where the actress who plays Clarisse is excited for the eventual Clarisse Silena stuff happening.
Yeah, I think they might go for it.
That makes a lot of sense that they would.
She thinks he's pretty gay.
But also, then you start to run into like bury your gaze subplot.
I know.
And so like that might make things more complicated. Yeah. Interesting.
Listen, Ray, we've already been over how bury your gaze is as old as the oldest story.
I know.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
So it happens all the time.
I mean, it'd
Let's
be interesting
get into this
if they gender bent Chris Rodriguez.
We have literally on this podcast, we have this our stance is that Chris Rodriguez is a he/him lesbian.
And then bing bang boom. Bing bang boom.
Yeah, it's right there. But also that still means that Silena and Clarisse aren't dating unless have some poly shit going on. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. They've made a lot of positive changes, so
it happens in a few different myths too, where I know at least Apollo does it, but like some gods are like helping some mortals get together, but like they're also dating said mortal.
Yeah.
Like, like Selena's giving Clarisse dating advice. right?
I know.
So you're telling me that they're doing kissing practice?
Oh my god.
I was just saying like they're dating and they're also like being supportive of each other.
Oh my
in
god,
their polyness.
that one Office, the one, the Parks and Rec meme that it's like, this is my boyfriend, like so and so, and this is his boyfriend, so it's like,
Yeah.
It's that.
Selena,
Yes.
and then Clarisse, and then Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my god, the memes.
And
are
Beckendorf.
ridiculous. Well, and then
My other thing is that I really
Beckendorf in the
love
background.
both Chris and Beckendorf. Like,
know.
even though they're like barely in this series at all.
I know. It's
Yeah,
too bad.
Beckendorf's just like, this is my girlfriend, Selena, and this is her girlfriend, Clarisse, and this is her boyfriend, Chris.
Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Like,
I love that.
So many layers. So many layers.
My only problem with Percy and Annabeth is that I am presumably poly in some kind of way, and so like the jealousy plotline, I'm just so done with it at all times.
I
And
know.
so I
love
wish
the
that we had more
smarts,
poly.
Like, I agree, jealousy plot lines, gross, but I'm just like, oh, Annabeth, you're fire, like all these like
Yeah.
snarky comments against her.
Hot take. What if they were a couple? What would that?
No,
what is
that's
that?
the real ship, actually.
Yeah, what would it
That's,
like,
that's
Annabeth,
Charlie's actual
like
ship is the
Rachel?
Rachel Annabeth Percy OT3.
Mm.
Oh no, I just meant Rachel and Annabeth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, good for you.
Just the two of them. I always really liked Rachel as a character. I don't know. I thought because she was like an artist, and I remember being like, oh,
Yeah.
she's cool.
She's our
The-
favorite manic pixie dream girl. Okay.
The
Mhm,
thing about
mhm.
Rachel is that she's a Tumblr girly before her time.
I know. She's like, it's a little bit
Did
much,
Rick
but
Invent Tumblr girlies.
oh my
he
god,
No, he's using an archetype.
I'm not going to say anything about like her storyline, but I would write it differently. But that's fine. But that's okay. You know, so the fact that this chapter opens with like Annabeth immediately being snarky to her, I'm just like, oh girl, like a war is going on and you can't be a girl's girl for like a second.
No, I know. That's my problem. It's always like when other shit is going on that is so much more important.
I know. Like, God forbid.
She does go save her life.
So we've already talked about a lot of shit, so we'll do it quickly, but let's start going through chapter from beginning to end.
Guido, our favorite mobster, is
yes.
here. He's gonna save us. He's gonna save Rachel. He's taking Percy and Annabeth to the helicopter.
I feel
nearly
so
gets his
bad
wings
for Guido
sliced off.
here.
I
Like,
know.
he is doing his fucking best, and his wing is getting slammed.
I
And
know.
And Percy's just like, he had to remember what Selena told him to talk to how to talk to the Pegasi. Be like, it's okay, just extend the wing.
Gentle
You're okay.
parenting, Percy.
Just relax.
Percy is every Pegasus's dad.
Yeah,
Weird
but-
uncle.
He's not a
Yeah,
stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up.
Percy's doing that like nice shit, and then Annabeth is pulling some like Mission Impossible shit to get into the helicopter.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's impressive. That is impressive. But
wait.
you know, if anyone was going to do it, it would be her. Like,
That's
it
what
just
I was
makes
literally about to
It
say.
doesn't
Like,
make
I don't even question it. I'm like, yeah, she could.
Yeah, like of course she gets in the helicopter and she lands it. And then Percy's just like, oh my god. And then it's just like, of course. And then she just walks away afterwards. And I was like, yeah,
You can just drive a helicopter. Don't
You
worry
know-
about her.
You just know that after she like leaves Percy and Rachel and she turns around a corner, she just goes like, yes, to herself. Like, after, like she's like, I knew I could do it. Nailed the landing. Yeah.
She's like,
And
"Oh,
it
it's so
even
cool."
goes into like her dad being like obsessed with aviation, which I was thinking about when she was doing it. I was like,
Yeah,
of course she knows.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yep, amazing. She saved Rachel's life. Rachel is eternally grateful.
Yeah.
She owes her.
Annabeth keeps saying the word friend really saltily because
I know.
she really
The
just wants
italics.
Percy to step up, and to like, admit that he has feelings for her, and he's a little busy right now.
A little.
Like, I understand why she was salty at the beginning of the book. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But right now, girl,
I know.
Not the
I know.
time.
Now is not the time, but also she's a child of Athena, so like of course she's just gonna be like, well, now is like there's no better time than the present. Like, yeah, you either want to be with me or you don't.
Why wouldn't we
queen.
talk about it? Yeah.
Yeah,
And then Percy
right
is just
now.
repressing.
I know. My poor repressed king.
She's just like, come on, we could die any moment. Like, just tell me. Just
Yeah,
like
so
go
I-
for it. And
I
he's
do
just
see where
like,
she's
I
coming
can't
from.
right now. I could die any moment.
I know.
The two
And
sides.
Percy is so busy having existential crises every day.
And like nightmares. Let him have a dream of sleep. Like Jesus.
Oh my god,
No.
there are so many dreams this book. Like, it's
I
always a
know.
lot, but it's multiple every chapter right now.
I know. And he goes to sleep and he has 2 plot driving dreams. I was like, really?
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah. Speaking of dreams, Rachel tells Chiron a bunch of stuff after she tells Percy a bunch of stuff.
Rachel is not doing so hot right now.
No.
She is like sitting on the curb with her head in her hands, like, I'm ruining things between Percy and Annabeth. I'm almost dying. I don't know what's going on with my brain. She is going through it. And I love her and I feel so bad for her.
Yeah. And she's just like, how did you know about this? She doesn't look surprised that Percy is dreaming about her. I'm surprised we didn't get like a blush or anything about that, you know?
Yeah.
Come on. She knows what prophetic dreams are like now.
Yeah, I think she's like, oh my god, another dream.
Well, so she tells Percy, you are not the hero.
I know.
Well, he's not the hero, guys.
He's not
Clearly
the hero. And
it's
he-
Clarisse, right?
Yeah, obviously. It's the gays. No, maybe the real hero was the gays we met along the way.
Yeah, she's the Achilles of the story. It's right there. Come on.
I know.
Exactly.
It's obvious. Yeah.
You solved it, guys. Book over.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I guess that
No,
means
he
we're gonna
does-
kill 2 gays, right?
Oh
No.
no. No.
Yeah, so he's just like, what does this mean? Not the hero of the prophecy? I don't defeat Kronos? What does that mean?
He does not take it well.
I mean, would you? He really thought. And then suddenly.
But it's interesting because he never wanted to be.
No.
No.
Like, think of Percy's growth in the past 5 books.
But he has very much accepted it at this point.
That's true. But it's interesting that he doesn't feel relief.
Yeah. Earlier
No,
in
good.
this book, Percy accepted his own death as a result of this prophecy. He doesn't expect to live past the end of the week. Like,
Yeah.
He literally went through the 5 stages of grief, like, about this fucking prophecy.
mhm.
And, like,
Yeah.
about being the hero of the prophecy throughout
Yeah.
all of these books. He's just
and then
like, I
Rachel's
have
trying to
do it.
renege on that. And he's like,
Yeah.
hello, what? What does that fucking mean?
That's
And
true.
she's like, I don't know.
He's never planned to live like past 16. So now
Mhm.
he's like, all of this was for nothing.
Yeah.
And
All of this
And
emotional
It's
trauma.
like, hey, Percy, you're gonna live. Go tell Annabeth.
I know. Yeah.
You know what?
Well, he
Yeah.
doesn't know that he's gonna live either, though, at this
Yeah.
point.
You know what? I just like to think it would be cute if they were all poly and like Rachel was a Percibeth shipper. Okay.
Aw.
I every time that there's like teen found family stuff, I'm like, why aren't they all dating each other? I don't understand.
Why can't they? Just a little bit, just for me.
That's my solution to every love triangle.
Just Polly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, when Rachel starts talking to Chiron, Percy's just like, Chiron, take care of her. Don't
Mhm.
let what happened last time happen again.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah.
The last
Like,
time
he
somebody saw
just
things,
found out about that. He's traumatized over that also.
Yeah.
Poor
Dang.
Megaskellen.
Yeah.
terrified.
Mm.
So yeah, the whole Percy, you look like death. When Achilles wasn't fighting, he was sleeping.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
go the fuck to sleep.
Which we can assume also applies to Luke at this point, which brings us
Yeah.
to his nap.
Yeah.
Well, not yet. Hades
Yeah.
first, but
Yeah, first the whole like fun little family dynamic of the underworld.
I do not like how Rick writes
Full House, but like underworld.
yeah. Demeter and Persephone do not get a good showing here at all.
I know.
None of them really do.
No,
not
well,
great.
It's characteristic for Rick to write Hades like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Hades makes sense why he's like this. Demeter, her whole character, Cheerios,
I know.
farming.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
it.
Yeah, but yeah, I've
I
already talked about Hades and Persephone, so I'm not going to say anything else.
I do think that Rick puts more effort into writing his younger female characters than his older female characters. I think that he very much lets them fit into like the mother crone archetypes and like doesn't put any more thought into it beyond that. And
except for Sally.
Except for Sally, my beloved.
But you're right,
our woman.
They're either nurturing a massive bitch like Kara, or they're just forgettable.
And you know, a lot of characters can just be an archetype and it doesn't need to be deeper than that, but I feel like all of the goddesses kind of get shafted in that way. Like we don't spend much time with any of their psyches, and I'm sure that that's going to improve as we get to later series. But
I could talk about that for ages.
I don't recall more of Demeter, but I do know that Persephone gets some better moments much later on. So long later. So
I mean, that's his development as a writer. But you're really right that, it's like nurturing evil, just like evil mean, or just like
complexities.
I know.
The thing is, so during this scene, Nico is trying to convince Hades to join the war effort. And Persephone and Demeter are in the background and they do not care. They could not give less of a shit about this conversation that's going to affect them like incredibly deeply.
Yeah, I know. Demeter says that
they're just
Nico
kind of annoyed that it's happening.
Demeter is like, Nico should take up farming. That's what this boy needs.
Which is really strange. Like, Demeter must know if the Titans win and like humanity is kind of like wiped out essentially, ain't nobody gonna be farming.
Yeah, there's not gonna be a surface left,
like,
ma'am.
Yeah, he's not gonna have a balcony like little flower pot. Like what? Like
Demeter, you're an Olympian. Why do you not care right now?
I know. I know.
I get Hades, but Demeter?
I still I get Hades on one aspect, but on the other, stopping war earlier equals less death, equals less souls that Hades has to deal with. You'd think that like a massive war dragging on, like we all know Hades doesn't like doing his job.
Yes, so, that was established from book one.
So like I think
I do understand his isolationist perspective here, though.
Yeah,
like he is very much like, they don't do shit for me. I can keep me and mine safe down here. And Nico's like, that is not how it fucking works.
Yeah. Oh, and Nico's mom mentioned.
Yeah, please don't talk about her, is what Persephone says.
I know. Which, like, oh my God, God forbid, like, God forbid, like, a woman is just, like, not, like, one-dimensional. Oh my God.
Listen, all the gods need to just be like, I'm poly. If you don't accept that, we can't be married. That should be
the thing is that immortality and what do you call it? Monogamy. Thank you. Are just not compatible. At this point, it's become clear. Like, get over
it. Loose. Let her go. Like, fool around a little bit too. You know,
she should be at the club.
Yeah.
Now I'm just picturing Persephone like pole dancing for all the ghosts.
That's so sad. So sad. Oh my God.
Adele, are you familiar with Hades Town, the musical?
Oh my God, am I ever?
Yes. Good.
Yes.
I still haven't gotten Charlie to listen to it.
Okay, you need to.
I love their Hades and Persephone and their like complicated relationship of like being in love but also resenting each other, and you know, Hades and his like controlling nature, and anyways. So that kind of reminded me of that Persephone goes to the fucking club.
Yeah, I wish we saw more of that Persephone, honestly, but you know, oh well. I did like how it was mentioned, just like a little, you know, I'm always on the hunt for like an Apollo reference. So like the previous oracle being cursed by Hades was a cool mention. I was like, oh, Hades hating women again. Another example. God, just let her serve cunt, Hades. Why'd you gotta curse her? Like
the misogyny jumped out. But Nico is telling his dad the fuck off, and Hades is not dealing with that very well. He is making black fireballs and throwing them at trees.
Yeah, like they're not gonna respect you if you just sit there and don't help them.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
it's interesting. Like, Hades is not wrong. His family has wronged him immensely.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Nico is saying, if you want to get back in their good graces, you have to let that go. You have to let go of our fatal flaw of holding grudges, and we
Yeah.
have to make amends. We have to make the first move. And I think
Yeah.
that that's a really interesting message for that's kind of sprinkled in here. You know, it's like 2 pages that we get for this conversation, but I think that that's super interesting.
It's a good growth moment for Nico. It's always nice to have like
Mhm.
I don't know. I always liked the interactions between him and Hades and Persephone, like the growth that they have. Yeah.
Yeah, they would rather fight a war than eat another bowl of cereal.
Then we go to the United Nations.
I
Oh,
know, I
yeah.
love
The
that.
United Nations. And Cronus is like, the United Nations? How stupid is that? I was just like, what? Like, what?
He's gonna destroy it. Also, he's gonna tear down the stables in Central Park because horses annoy him.
Sorry, it reminds me of like the Tower of Babel. Kronos is the worst part of the Judeo-Christian god. He's like the bitch who's like, what, you guys want to unite and have like power? No, we are
No,
separating
not
you.
happening.
I know, he's
We're gonna
just-
put the kids on opposite sides of the table.
Kronos is so funny.
He is.
Like,
He truly
look at this.
is.
He uses his scythe and he cuts a flagpole in half.
He is
The
just throwing
colors of
temper tantrums this
Brazil.
whole time.
I
The
know.
Brazilian flag just falls on a
He
Tricada
hates
and
Brazil.
squashes her.
Yeah, he hates Brazil, confirmed, and he hates horses. The horse girls can't get a win this chapter, obviously. Yeah.
No,
Brazil mentioned
Not
though.
Did you know that's where a lot of the Percy Jackson fans are?
In Brazil?
Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's where all like the Taylor Swift fans are too.
What the heck? What's going
Brazil
on?
is
I know.
on the internet and they are having a great fucking time.
There's like
and I love
like
them for it.
fandom
So glad for
culture
you.
in Brazil. I think it's because of like
Mhm.
soccer culture there. Just like you grew up with like loving something so much that you'll like tune into everything. Like that culture of like fans, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's why personally. And so if soccer isn't your thing, you find something else that you're like really interested in. But yeah, poor
So-
Brazil.
Kronos in all the previous books seemed so intelligent. And then this book, he is just throwing tantrums left and right.
I
I feel
know.
like being inside of Luke, he is
Yeah,
going through
yeah,
like puberty.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I know
that's
that Luke
what it
shouldn't
is.
be. Like, he should be past that. But I think Kronos is giving him second puberty.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what is happening right now. Like the
100%.
humanity of Luke is like affecting Kronos. He's just like, stop making me feel emotions. Ugh!
Yeah. Although I will say his plan of the Dracon is pretty intelligent. Like
Yeah.
I will give him
Mm.
that.
But his lieutenants are like,
No.
I think it's time to go down for your nap, sir. And he's like,
know.
I'm not a baby. I don't need a nap. He's very invested in taking down Olympus entirely before Typhon gets here. So,
Yeah.
he's like,
He's got a
we gotta
deadline.
rush.
He's got a schedule. You know,
We
he's
have
got
to rush, and I mean rush.
yeah. He's
Don't you dare.
He's got his little schedule. He's got his little calendar. He's like ticking down the days. Oh, like 8 days till Typhon gets here. 7 days. Like that's his favorite
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
to do in the day.
He's got an advent calendar, but for a
Oh my
Typhon.
Oh my god.
The little chocolates every day, you know?
Prometheus is trying to talk to this man, and he's not having a good time.
I know.
Yeah, no. I think he's afraid of Kronos. I think that's actually why
Mm.
he joined the side. I think this is where we learn he was just like, Kronos is just gonna kill me if I don't side with him. And I'm more afraid
That's
of him than
valid.
Zeus, actually.
That's valid. That's a valid reason for joining. I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, Zeus did have his liver eaten for years. So,
Millennia.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but he knows that he can be rescued by a demigod.
Yeah.
If Zeus wins,
interesting.
he knows that.
Uh-huh.
But if Kronos wins, he's like, there's gonna be no one left
Mm-hmm.
to free me, so I need to side with him.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's the master plan of Prometheus.
Okay, Charlie. Sure.
There you go.
Sure.
All right, so this Dracon wakes up and it makes a horrible noise in Percy's dream which he then realizes that he can still hear
Yeah.
as he wakes up from it from a mile away. I love that. Nice transition.
I know, that was a pretty good. I was like, oh, I see what you did there, Rick. Yeah. Yeah, the Dracon that can only be killed by a child of Ares. How did
Yes.
Kronos know that? Does he have like
Presumably
one?
he also has some sort of prophet. We learn from Rachel, who like,
Oh, Prometheus.
hell yeah, Rachel.
Oh,
Because Prometheus was like telling him some shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like,
Okay,
I feel like
okay.
that's kind of supposed to be his, maybe not prophet necessarily, but like he
Yeah.
knows shit. He knows
yeah,
things.
and Rachel knows as well. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So I was like thinking of doing a myth section on the Draken, but like, guys, it's just dragon.
yeah. It's just it's
They make
just a,
they make a big deal out of Drakens and dragons being different things. It's not. It's not.
big lizard, open mouth. Something come out. Oh, it's acid, not fire.
Yeah.
Big lizard run.
The thing is that there's so much dragon mythology in the world that they are.
Yeah.
It might as well be whatever. You know, if it's
Yeah.
a huge lizard, it's a dragon.
Although, does it have
Yeah.
wings? Does this one have wings?
I think they said that the Drakens don't have wings
Okay.
specifically.
Yeah, we
Or
have two
I
type
think
of dragon.
not usually.
Wing, no wing.
See, I think of no wing dragon as a worm generally.
Oh yeah, like I love like a Y
Yeah.
or like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
WYRM. Ooh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's kind of how Greek dragons are more
Yeah.
often. They don't have wings. They
Mhm.
are usually just like big snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snick.
So
Snick. Snick.
yeah, and like I
Yeah.
said, Draken is just more like the original Greek version of the word.
Yeah.
I don't know when the G got in there, but like that's
Yeah.
that's
Probably some like it probably Europe in I would say early Middle Ages probably.
etymology.
I
all
have
that
a
stuff.
complaint about Rick's
Oh.
prose here, which is that
Ooh.
he tells us that all drakens are poisonous. Did you mean venomous, sir?
Ooh.
Oh.
Can I eat the drakon flesh without dying? Or
How does it work? There's poisonous, there's venomous,
if something is venomous, then if it bites you, you die. If something is poisonous, then if you bite it, you die.
Okay, so they could have just won by like not biting the dragon.
Exactly.
Nom, 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 nom.
So what happens if it bites me and I don't die?
Then you got bit.
What
Idiot.
happens if
I
I
guess-
bite it?
Yeah, then you ate it. I mean, you eat lots of things that aren't poisonous generally every day. I'm sure.
I know there's this is just like there's a whole meme about it, and then there's just like that's kinky, and that's how it ends.
Oh my
And
god.
I'm like, I don't remember how the meme went, but that's what I was going for.
Okay,
Oh my
okay. I'm sure that I've seen that at some point.
That's a good point. But I mean, it sprays or like breathes poison from its
Mhm,
mouth,
mhm.
so that's probably what he was thinking. He was
I'm
also
sure
probably
it
like, these 11-year-olds won't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, and
I figured it was like the acid spit or something
yeah.
going on
Yeah.
there.
I'm just saying.
I know. I respect it. I agree.
It's not relevant whatsoever. I just like to point that out anytime it comes up.
Get your lizard facts right, Rick. Damn it.
Exactly.
He's
Yeah.
casting poison spray, okay? That's why it's poisonous, not venomous.
If it was venomous, I would have to resist his venom attack.
Rachel is like, I'll stay out here and face this down with you guys, and then the thing shows up and she's like, oh no, never mind,
Actually,
bye.
Maybe not. Actually, maybe not. Good,
Oh, Rachel.
Good plan, Queen.
I
'Cause
love
it,
her.
It does
What are
kind
you
of
gonna
seem to like
do?
fuck shit up. You know,
What are you
yeah.
gonna do, Rachel?
Like, Rick does a good job here of making this thing intimidating as fuck.
it kills people like that. It's a
Mhm,
little,
mhm.
I don't know, it's a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, we gotta have something
Charlie's
big and
like,
bad
it's
for
war.
Clarisse to take
It's
down.
war. Of course it's dark.
Because this just makes Clarisse seem all the more badass. Because she took it down with no armor.
Yeah, dare I say, at the end of the chapter, she ate
Yeah.
the Dracon.
She
It's
is
like,
yeah.
yeah. It kind of fucks shit up. Percy is like, I'm gonna take it because obviously,
But no, he says, I'm gonna take the Dracon.
yeah.
I'll take it. Right?
And I think at one
Like-
point he's like, I wish we were back at the flying pig.
Yeah.
Percy.
My memory of this book was actually fucked up. I thought that Clarisse had to come by to fight the flying pig. I literally forgot about the Dracon. I combined those two concepts, which like made sense to me because Ares has a whole boar thing. So I thought that was like where we were going with that. No. Okay. Yeah, I just had concepts confused in my brain. This is like one of the very few things that I even remembered from this book, and I remembered it wrong. I've read this one the least out of the first series.
I think I've read this one the least too. I think just because it's so gritty.
Yeah,
it's just like, and just like people are dying left and right, and it's very emotional.
And I've never been a war book person, you know, just like in general. I have a rougher time with it.
I like it if it's like fantasy, but for me personally, it's just like the fact that so many characters that we like know and love die in this book that it's just like, it's for me, this one is almost as bad as like the last battle in Narnia for me, that I just like, I don't really reread it.
Is that the one where Susan goes to hell?
Where the gays are. Yeah, that's the one where it's like it's just like everyone fucking dies.
Yeah, Susan doesn't go to hell. She just doesn't die with the rest of them and go to heaven.
Okay, we know what? We have to stop this right now because
we can't. Yeah. We cannot get into it. The problem with Susan,
former Christian kid here with the gay like raised on Narnia. Yeah, we can't get into it because I will discuss it. Yeah.
We'll make a different Narnia podcast someday. That's a lie, but I mean, we should.
New podcast for Adele.
Maybe I'll do a Narnia podcast. I do love Narnia.
I'd come on.
Adele, do a Narnia podcast.
Maybe. Okay, maybe we'll see if it's a popular idea. I do. You know what? I do know the Bible. Not to be like, this is a fun fact about me. I do know the Bible really well. I have an extreme knowledge of the Bible. I'm really fun at parties.
Now, if you do it, you need to get MC on.
Oh my god! Obviously, yes.
Because we got the Tolkien Lewis besties.
Anyway. Oh my god, besties. Yeah, so Percy says he's gonna take it. He's kind of fighting. He does props to him. He gets an eye, which
he does.
You know,
like, damn
props.
boy.
Yeah.
And like his basic point is he knows that he can't kill this thing. And so he's just gotta distract it so that other people aren't dying horribly. He's basically throwing his invulnerable body in front of this thing so that no one else gets snatched, even though they do.
I don't know what the end goal is here because they don't know that like the Ares cabin is coming. So maybe they like it's kind of crazy to think.
I don't know. They're just holding as long as they can, I guess.
Yeah. And the fact that the thing is how the timing of Silena bringing the Ares campers just in the nick of time when Kronos has released this Dracon. Like, we know that Kronos knows that there's no Ares cabin because of his spy. So it's like how, like just the fact that like it's just perfect timing for them to come and arrive. Like, what if they were an hour later? Like,
the thing about that is that this thing is prophesized to be killed by an Ares person. And so
that's why they had to come back at that point.
Yeah. Basically, everything happened the way that it did because that prophecy was already made. Yeah. It is incredibly convenient, you're right, but in a world where fate exists, I'll allow it.
If they hadn't come back at that time, I assume the prophecy would have been different.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why, I forgot this is why. Sometimes I'm just like, prophecy and myth. Because it was destined. It was fated. Okay, that's valid.
I had to change your fate. Would you?
Would you? Okay, I accept that. Thank you for that answer. I accept it. Okay, yes, because prophecy. But we have to, we have to say it in a like very like mysterious way because of the prophecy.
Prophecy,
but Ares shows up, 30 campers, fresh campers.
That's literally doubling their forces if you don't count the party ponies. Yeah. Like, they had 31 people before that. Yeah. Now they've got 61. Great.
I know, and they're fresh. They're like fully rested, not wounded. They've got a bunch of javelins. They've got skeleton horses. Yeah.
You love that.
Percy said earlier in this chapter that everyone is too afraid to take more nectar and ambrosia at this point, and so they've just got to fight as they are. Fucked up. So, fresh warriors, very, very good.
Yeah. 30 of them, led by Clarisse / Silena in her armor. I love how Percy says her voice was a little shrill.
We cannot bring up shrill voices. We cannot bring up shrill.
Can we just say higher? Like higher pitched?
I see what he's going for there, because he's trying to make it not suspicious. He's like, this is because she's scared of this thing.
Yeah. And also like the heat of battle. Like if I was screaming, I would probably be shrill sounding as well,
But it does, shrill as a word has like negative misogynistic connotations. So like, I understand the complaint also, though.
Yeah, but that's fine. We'll move past it, because she was, she's in battle. She's leading the charge. She's saying for Ares. She's probably scared out of her mind, right?
Because Selena's not a fighter.
No,
she's
not
never
really been a fighter. I mean, I think it's implied that everyone at camp has like basic training, and of course, because they're demigods, like their reflexes are going to be a little bit better. But like the fact
not her
that
strong suit.
No, and she's just so brave for doing this. Like if you guys, if this was you, would no training, conning the war cabin to follow you, and you jumping into battle with basically like no training, like I don't know if I would be brave enough to do that.
You know what? Her charisma stat.
I mean, as an Aphrodite, yeah, you got it.
You have charisma. She is serving charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent in this.
She's got nerve.
Yeah, but yeah, she's just so brave. I love, I love this character. She gets much more fleshed out in the past 2 books, but I think this is a fitting end to her story. Especially with the whole like Aphrodite cabin is.
Right. Rick has not been very kind to them.
No.
Like
he does remedy that later. But this is a step in the right direction. And it's sad because like you can see how much like everyone at camp loves this character. Like, everyone at camp loves this character. And it was like it was like when Beckendorf died, everyone at camp loved him. And like
they're 2 of the older people at camp. They're the heads of their cabins. They are both like these nurturing presences in the camp, and just oh my god, I cannot imagine losing both Beckendorf and Silena as a member of Camp Half-Blood.
I think if Beckendorf hadn't died, she wouldn't have done this. But I think his death at the start of the book really set off like
she's been spiraling since then.
But like she's been spiraling, yes, but also I think she understands like the stakes. And she's been inspired. I think she heard that. I think probably for her, after she got over her initial like grief, and she probably felt inspired. Like she takes action in this book, and I think she wouldn't have done that if she hadn't been inspired by Charlie's sacrifice. And like he was a hero, he died a hero, and like what can she do? Well, she can go back and try to convince Clarisse. And she probably had a conversation with her, probably did her best, couldn't do it, and it was probably a spur of the moment decision, just to be like, I'm just gonna if I can't take Clarisse back with me, I'm just fuck it, like I'll be Clarisse. Like what is there left to lose?
And see, you're taking like a very like noble stance on this, which I definitely like and understand, but I take a much more nihilistic stance on this of like, what do I have left to lose? Like almost like a blaze of glory kind of like, we aren't strangers to suicidality in the Percy Jackson series.
I think it could be both. I think it could be both for her, honestly. And I just like it was for Patroclus. Like I think, like once again, he was a realist. It could be what does he have left to do? He has to do this. Like there's a heroic, noble aspect of it. Like he will take up Achilles' mantle, and also just like the desperation of seeing he's been fighting for so long, seeing so many dead, losing so many loved ones,
knowing that you have to put a stop to this, no matter what it takes.
I think it could be both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So Percy's on the monster's back. Annabeth is also there. She has been like doing some fucking work this chapter.
Slay.
Also been fighting so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. O'Leary,
Oh, I know.
our favorite dog, has
Our
been trying
puppy.
so hard to help.
And she gets like slammed off this creature, and Percy's like, "Stay down, girl. You've done enough."
I know.
But so Percy's on this thing's back, and he meets eyes with Silena as Clarisse, and he says, "You can do it. It's destined to be killed by a child of Ares."
Yeah.
And she meets his eyes, and he's like, "Clarisse doesn't have blue eyes."
And she's also like,
Did we know
she's like,
Silena had blue eyes?
I don't know if we did, but now we do.
Now we
Now
know.
we do.
Now we do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Silena hears that and must, internalize like,
Oh, fuck.
that ain't me. And she charges and says Ares anyways, and then she gets acid spit in her fucking face.
I think her hope was that charge, say Ares one more time, galvanize the campers, and there must have been the hope just like one of the others would do it.
Yeah.
Like, just lead the charge, be the leader. You don't have to be like the hero, like I can't do it, it can't be me, but like maybe one of the others will do it.
Like the bravery that she shows here in going for it is incredible.
Yeah. Homegirl got acid in her face. They had to peel her helmet off of her.
Oh, baby
This
girl.
is like this is awful. Like,
Yeah.
what a horrible way to die was what I was
Truly,
thinking.
truly.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
So she falls, and everyone starts surrounding her, trying to protect her, shouting out for Clarisse, and then Clarisse shows up. And
yeah.
Hey, look, huh?
No armor, no nothing.
no armor, nope. She's got
Like,
the
she just
flying
got out of
chariot,
bed.
which is our Briseis in universe.
I know. Woman equated to chariot.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Briseis could have been changed to a
Property.
sexy lamp, but instead we changed her to a chariot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, at least it has to do with horses. We love horses. Yeah, and Chris is with her.
Yes.
Slay.
Thanks for being here, Chris.
our wife
he's
guy.
just kind of there.
Chris is here for emotional support for Clarisse while she mourns her girlfriend.
Yeah. She's screaming. We talked about it a bit earlier.
Yes.
But yeah, she's screaming.
Why?
Oh, God.
Why?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So you want death? Well, come on. Like,
Yeah.
she's goading it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The true barbarian that Clarisse is.
I know she
She
goes
is,
like full rage mode. I mean, is it in this chapter that she kills it?
She does, yes. She
Yeah.
goes up
Yes, it is.
and stabs it into its other eye, her electric spear. And the
And it
spear
explodes.
shatters, all of the electricity in it discharges, and this fucking 200-foot long thing just dies.
Yeah. And they're all like, holy shit. Yeah. But I think the big thing for me is just like her outpouring of grief, like her anger and rage. I think it's done really, really well. And I think like Rick could have, I don't know, he could have omitted it a little bit or, kind of toned it down in terms of like the parallels between Patroclus and Achilles, but I think he does it. I think in the canon nature that we know of their relationship versus Achilles and Patroclus, of course, the grief is going to be a little bit different. But for her, I think it's a little bit more like she's been tricked. Like her armor has been stolen. Like she woke up, her whole camp is gone. So there's like that like sense of betrayal a little bit, but like the sadness of the fact that the betrayal led to this like tragedy, and also the fact that like this would not have happened if Clarisse had not been so stubborn, if she had been the bigger person to kind of like step down. And I think we hear that in her like being like, why did you do that?
Screaming why. Being angry at someone who is dying is something that is so like, difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's angry because it also forced Clarisse to it showed Clarisse that like this Aphrodite girl in this moment was braver than Clarisse. Clarisse wasn't brave enough to like put aside her honor. Yeah.
And like, I do love that Clarisse really is an Achilles like archetypal character. Like that they both have that rage inside of them, like as people. I don't know. I think that's
really
how the
Iliad
fascinating.
starts.
Yeah.
Rage.
Yeah, exactly.
Rage. Yeah, sing of the Rage of Achilles. And it's like, yeah, I wish there was even more we could get from like these two. Like, I love that Rick puts it in. I'm so glad. And of course, because this book is really like an homage to the Iliad. But on first reading, you would just think, oh, Percy is Achilles. But I love the fact that he did this. I love it. Yeah.
I love Clarisse as a character. I love her development from book 1 to here.
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
She means so much to me.
Yeah, me too. This is a turning point for her, absolutely. And it's like beautiful, but also it's so sad, you know. Everyone loves Silena, and also just the fact that like Clarisse, she never gives in. This whole series, she's always been like, if that's the way she wants it, that's how it's gonna be, you know, if that's the way like the cabin's gonna happen. And that's so much like Aries too.
Yep.
But here it's like that path of action has caused her to lose this person. And I think for her in that moment, it's just like shattered, like everything she's known about herself and like her cabin and like kind of like the legacy that she has to leave. Like Aries people do not back down, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is that compared to the fact that like her friend died, you know, taking her place almost, you know what I mean? Like there's like that, there's nothing there in the, like just the concepts of honor. There's nothing there in her cabin's honor. She stayed behind. She would not go, but her friend had more honor to like don her armor and like
to
trick
do what
her cabin.
Needs to be done. Yeah.
Just
so to go back to the chapter title that we talked about at the very beginning of the episode, like addressing Silena as a thief, but like making this moment of heroism like the crux of the chapter. I think maybe that's interesting. Maybe I like it now that we're here.
Yeah. I mean, what does Rachel say? What's the exact thing she says? It's
yes.
A trick that ends in death. I think instead of thief, it could have been like, I think trick really should have been
somewhere in there.
Words. Yeah.
Okay.
The trick that saved us. I don't know.
The trick that saved us, like something. Because I was looking for this chapter, and Charlie, you had said, "Oh, chapter 16," and for some reason, I like thought it was titled differently. So I'm like looking in my index, trying to find like something that has to do with the fact that, you know, they fight this like massive, you know, Dragon and someone dies. But then I was like, oh wait, 16, it's this thief thing. And I was like, oh, like what? Yeah.
But I was like, nope, we got to get you on for the gang. So
the gang. Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot about this.
Yeah.
Okay, like I'm so glad we did this.
Hell yeah. So Adele, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter, I guess. I'm also in the Deus Ex Media's Discord server. I'm back for like the third time. I'm trying to like stay. I know.
I love
Charlie's looking at me like,
well, I'm back again.
I know. I promise this time I'm back for like, I'm trying to be much more active, especially since like my partner and I are watching Avatar and she's like seeing it for the first time. So I'm active in like the My Cabbages.
Oh, good.
And then, of course, like MC is doing Skywalk Before You Run It. I'm like such a Star Wars nerd. I'm literally looking at my like whole Star Wars shelf right now. And so like I'm really active in that channel now. And I'm going to be on some restricted section episodes in the future. Of course, I'm like coming back, but I promise I'm like actually back this time. So yeah, that's probably the best place for people to find me. Yeah.
Do you have a media plug for us?
I do.
Besides Song of Achilles.
Yeah. So that's just like a plug of, you know, I will be really interested to hear like what the listeners think, if they've read it, and like what they think on it, whether or not it's like, some people love it, some people hate it, some people just enjoy it for what it is. Right. I'm really curious if anyone else has anything to say about Madeline Miller's work and just like some of the thoughts we've had on, you know, Greek myth retellings. I'm really excited for that discussion. But in terms of a media recommendation, I finally caved earlier this year and I read The Priory of the Orange Tree. The massive, I don't know if either of you have read it.
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay, so it is a fantasy, it's a fantasy book. It's about this big. It's like 700 pages, I think. I'm not even joking. And So it has worms. It has dragons. Two different things.
Oh.
It has the most delicious slow burn, like sapphic romance that I think I've read in years. It has badass like dragon riders. It has a queendom. It has religious trauma. It has a secret sect of women mages who are like badasses. It has really interesting East-West dichotomies. And just a really cool magic system that I really like, and really complex female characters. It's all about female characters.
We love that.
It's massive. There's 2 books in it. It's by Samantha Shannon. It's really popular in book talk on like the sapphic book talk side, but yeah, so I finally caved. It's just so long, but oh my God, I think it's the best book I have read.
880 pages.
I devoured it in 3 days. 3 days. I was like, I couldn't put it down. So if you like fantasy and gay, or just like women, this is like, you gotta give it a try. I just wish I could just live in that world. Like that would be the world that I would live in. Yeah. So
it sounds incredible. Oh my God.
It's amazing. And I read the prequel as well. I would honestly, I don't know if I would say read the prequel first, which was published after, or this one, but just like those books, that's my plug. It's so good. It's so good.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good shit. I also consumed some new media that I'm also late to the party on, but I finally watched season 2 of What If.
Ooh.
Did you see it? Do you know? Do you know things?
I've only seen the first season,
and I haven't watched any of it.
You're just like, I'm just here.
What the episode is called that made me very, very happy. So it is episode 6 of the season. What if Priory reshaped the world? I hope I'm saying her name right.
Oh,
but that episode. Have you heard of that episode?
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I watched some clips of it. Yeah,
that's an episode that isn't basically entirely not in English, because the main character is a Mohawk Native American girl, and she gets superpowers. This is a new character to the MCU and all of that. And
I've heard it's like fantastic.
You know, like, you want to see a teenage girl beat up some Spanish conquistadors? Watch this episode.
Yes. I mean, yes. The answer is always yes.
Like that's what's important.
And it's been really highly praised by a lot of Indigenous creators as well. And
well, good.
And there were a lot of Indigenous
they worked
consultants.
With like
exactly.
Yeah, they work with people on this, and it was.
I think it's the step in the right direction for the MCU, especially on the release of Echo, that they've been like working with a lot of like more
I also
Indigenous
watched
creators.
Echo.
Exactly, but I've heard this episode is really, really good, just really, really solid.
I really fell off the MCU train like a while ago, so but I'm trying to like get back into like this stuff that seems interesting to me. So I'll need to check it out.
If you do not watch anything else Marvel or like don't like the MCU, just watch this episode. You don't need to know anything.
It's different storytelling too. It's really just like it's the what if, like this historical event told from like an Indigenous perspective. And, you know, a gratifying story of what if, you know, that there was like superpowers, right? In this kind of like Indigenous spiritual world. Yeah.
You fucking cool. An alternate timeline that's just like a power fantasy, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like we fixed it. Guys, we fixed the past. Or she did.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Spanish guys.
Hell yeah, girl.
Yeah, Pocahontas who is really what the thing is. Yeah, like goodbye Pocahontas. This is the new one.
Yeah. I mean, I will say like the rest of the season I also love because Captain Carter. They. Anyway.
Yeah, you just did the gayest expression I've seen all day. The way you were like
yeah. Listen, also Priory and Captain Carter had like a team up in one of the episodes.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm sensing a theme today.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. The theme is sapphic. Women. It is Women's Month, in fact.
It is, I know.
Oh shit. I should change my thing to something with women in it. Damn.
I changed mine today because we're recording on Barbie's birthday. So did you know that Barbie's birthday is during Women's Month?
I
Did you know
love
that
that for her.
Barbie is now an official sponsor of the PWHL?
Oh,
What?
I didn't.
I know.
Good for her.
Barbie is now sponsoring the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Huh, Barbie, good job.
Okay, I've changed my thing.
What's your plug now?
Because of that.
About women?
Ted and I just watched the Ted Nivison YouTuber. I watched every Barbie movie ever made.
Yeah. I was
in 1 week, this man watched all 40-some Barbie films before he went to go see the new live-action Barbie movie,
I'm proud of him.
and made his own theory about the Barbie cinematic universe as he was doing this project. And I don't want to spoil it because you should go watch this video yourself. It's almost 2 hours long, but
oh my god,
yeah. But all I want to say is that he is 100% correct.
Okay, I'm intrigued now.
And this is said by a Barbie scholar, okay?
Wow.
It's fucking hilarious. Mostly he just kind of summarizes most of the movies, but for what he thinks is the worst movie in every Barbie film era, he like goes in depth, and it's so fucking funny because there are truly some wild shit.
Does he agree with like some of the bad ones? Does he also agree that like Thumbelina is probably one of the worst?
No, he thought Thumbelina was fine. I can't remember which one. Oh, he didn't like the Barbie Diaries, which like valid.
I feel like that's one of those where it's like either you hate it or you love it. Like
the thing about the Barbie Diaries is that technically it is not a good movie. It's just a shitty Mean Girls like knockoff. But the music fucking slaps. So
yeah, no, that's what saves it. The music. The CGI is bad. The story is not great. The music is great. Okay.
What's the Barbie movie that has the little turquoise fuzzy gremlin?
That is Fairytopia. You were thinking of Bibble. He fucking hates Bibble. So
So does Teddy though. Teddy also hates Bibble.
We like Bibble in Mermaidia specifically.
I feel like I've opened a can of worms that I cannot close.
Adele, we could be here for another 2 hours.
Although
Adele, I have a different podcast where we do this.
Because
so
it's like, I'm just like you.
Just like
You're
you.
just like me.
You're just like me.
Yeah, that used to be your theme song for the other podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Raye is a Barbie podcaster, Adele. This is
one time I printed off that duet and me and my friend like fully like sang it for it.
Good. Like, hell yeah. That's so good.
They're a scholar. They know their shit.
Only about the movies.
PhD.
I don't know any of the other lore. Okay.
I know the other lore. It's okay.
Yeah, I know you do.
Covered.
That's what you bring to this friendship.
Shania Twain just got a Barbie. Let's go, girls.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah. Oh, and like they just released some new Barbies for like celebrities. I think like yesterday actually for International Women's Day.
Aw,
yeah,
that's nice.
We love it. We love women.
Thank you, women.
Thank you, women. And in conclusion to this episode, although we did talk about two men, I would like to say thank you, women.
Thank you, women.
The two men, their story led to this beautiful story of Clarisse and Silena. So in conclusion, just thank you, women.
Achilles and Patroclus walked that Clarisse and Silena could run.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, release us from this mortal coil, please.
What if I don't want to? I like talking about women.
I know you love women. I know you love women.
In conclusion, we all love women.
I also love women.
We all love women. Thank you both for having me. It's always such a treat.
I'm so glad you came.
You are a treat.
Here.
I love having people who know what they're fucking talking about on this podcast because we sure don't. Okay, Charlie, release us from this moral coil. Do the ending of the podcast. We're strapped here. I have to go.
I have trapped you here. Now I will talk about women forever on the podcast.
Oh no.
Oh
Talking about women forever.
Get out of my fucking cabin so I can think about women, okay?
no. Okay.
Bye.
I will also think about women. Bye. All hail the God Complex Patreon member, Matt. You can follow this podcast socials at Of the Eldest Gods Pod on Instagram and Tumblr, and at Of the Eldest Gods on Twitter. You can send us an iris message through oftheeldestgodspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us financially, join us at patreon.com/oftheeldestgods. By becoming a patron, you can join the Deus Ex Media Discord server, where you'll be able to chat with us and other listeners about episodes and anything Percy Jackson related. Our $5 patron tier also gets you access to Against All Odds, our monthly bonus show. There, we'll talk about a wide variety of topics, which usually have something to do with mythology. No promises. You can check out our merch store on Redbubble to find custom designs made by Charlie. Or if you cannot or do not want to support us financially, we'd really appreciate a rating, a review, or letting your friends and followers know how much you love the podcast. That really helps. You can find me, Raye, at HeyHeyRaye, spelled R-A-Y-E, on Twitter. If you want to hear more from me, check out Barbie Movie Slap, a podcast where my co-host Ted and I discuss Barbie's cinematic universe. That podcast Twitter is at Barbie Slaps.
And you can follow me, Charlie, at GreenPixie12 on most platforms, but on Twitter I'm at GreenPixie123, which I'm totally not salty about. I also have an art Instagram at GreenPixieDraws. I sometimes do the YouTube thing on my channel, Charlie Mac. That's M-A-C-K. Our music was written by Isabel Strauss-Riggs and recorded and edited by Ian M. Riggs. You can find Izzy at Kane_I, that's I as in the body part, on Instagram and Twitter. She also currently makes video essays on the YouTube channel Kane I. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast. Of the Eldest Gods is proud to be a part of Deus Ex Media, which features great podcasts like Super Scary, a love letter to superheroes, sci-fi, and horror movies, hosted by Josh.
Do you love to be super scared? Do you enjoy listening to hilarious hot takes on timeless classics? Well, fear not, listeners. I'm here! Welcome to the Super Scary Podcast, where we cover everything from the supernatural to the superpowered. I'm your host, Josh, a scaredy cat nerd who enjoys superhero, sci-fi, and horror movies way too much. Whether I'm processing my trauma from Texas Chainsaw Massacre or reminiscing on the nostalgia of Hocus Pocus, my guests and I have a hilarious time going through our favorite and sometimes not so favorite moments. I'm your friend till the end, listeners, because everyone's entitled to one super scary podcast. We post weekly episodes on Mondays, and you can find us at Super Scary Podcast on all the socials. See you in the afterlife, listeners.
Of the Eldest Gods is based on the series by Rick Riordan. Right now, we are discussing Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Remember to follow us on your favorite podcatcher and meet us back here every Thursday.
You are Kevin Shevin, and
Yes.
now we go. I don't know what my voice is doing.
Yes, I am. I guess I should have sung it or something to be a bit more like Apollo.
You can do that.
Boom, boom, boom,
It's
boom,
allowed.
boom, boom. Cabin 7. Yeah. Kind of like that.
Deus Ex Media.